you're fine. No, you're fine.
Thank you, Terry. It's one of the major programs. A lot of people think recreation is nothing but sports and athletics, and by looking at most of us in here, you can tell that we haven't been working out too much. But
Amen.
there's another element to the recreation department here in Morganton at Collett Street, and that's the music program. Started out certainly with a lot of small music programs, Miguel Pico's flamenco guitar lessons over the past 10 or 12 years. Developed into some stuff through Bluegrass and the Bluegrass Camp for Kids. And then Gary, Greg Deal, Mike Ramsey, and some other folks have been working on Monday and Tuesday afternoons with a lot of young people, and not just 4 or 5 young people, dozens and up to hundreds of them. Out of that has developed a program called JAM. And these fellows up here are some of the folks that have been instructors in that program. They're going to give us a few minutes of entertainment, then we have a few speakers, and then we'll have a little bit more entertainment, and then our guest of honor, Gary Leonhardt, will have the final word. Welcome, everybody, and enjoy the music, and then we'll start the program in just a few minutes. Thank you for being here.
Well, will you love me, little darling, while I'm growing old and gray? Well, just a little thought before I'm gone far away. It's been so long since I've seen you, but my love still lingers on. Don't forget me, little darling, while our love is sure seems gone. Tell me, darling, in your letters, do you ever think of me? Oh, tell me, little darling, tell me where you may be. It's been so long since I've seen you, but my love still lingers on. Don't forget me, little darling, while I'm singing this song.
Certainly glad everyone is here. We have a lot of folks from not only Morganton, Burke County, but all over a few faraway spots in North Carolina. I want to welcome all of Gary's family, his friends, his colleagues, and all others who've attended or are attending this ceremony and celebration today. Certainly glad you're here. There's a lot of food. I want to thank the Community House for that effort that they've put forth, and it's certainly appropriate that we're in the building that I guess Clinton Faust helped put up along with the Recreation Foundation, and Gary's carried on a fine tradition here. My name's Bill Wilson. I'm a Director Emeritus of COMA or something right now, I don't know. But I've, with all the recent problems with the city, I've gone into the Witness Protection Program. So, just to be safe. And Gary, since you're going out of the country, until you go out, you're welcome to use these. One size fits all. Does this help? Does it? I knew it'd be an improvement. My first comments certainly are, again, to welcome everyone and hope that you have a wonderful time here. We have people that are involved in so much. Again, the music program that we just heard from these fellows. One of the banjo players started out as a child in the Bluegrass Camp for Kids. His father's running, or was running sound up here. He's left, David Whitesides. Certainly all the sports, things that have happened. A lot of great memories with the city from Williamsport, going all the way from district to regional to state. and finally to Williamsport to the World Series, Little League World Series a number of years ago. The Morganton Aggies, the revival of that. The list goes on and on of all the things that have happened because of the City of Morganton and because of Gary Leonhardt. Our first speaker today, we just have a few. We kind of limited a little bit because we don't want to embarrass him any more than we have to. Gary is behind the scenes quite a bit, and a lot of things happen, and we just expect them to happen, and they happen because he has made them happen. Our first speaker is our city manager, is Sally Sandy. Sally's been with the city since 1842. And I came in shortly before that. Please welcome Sally Sandy.
It's a real honor to be here. And for those of you that have been to several of these lately, you know this is probably going to be the moment when, before this is all over with, I'm going to cry in front of you, because it seems to be what I do lately as I say goodbye, because that's very hard for me. Bill is exactly right. There is a lot in this community. And the good thing for me is I know that when I called Gary and he said that he was going to take care of it. And I never had to question it. Now, we are very different people, and I'm a little OCD, and I like to get things done a little ahead of time and all of those kinds of things, and that is not really Gary's style. And that's okay, because he is the best last-minute man that I have ever met in my entire life. Because he will get it done, and it will be exactly as it should be, and for that I am extremely grateful. It has been a pleasure. See, here we go. And my privilege to work with you. Just a minute.
You didn't cry this much for me.
What can I say? What can I say? What can I say? You see, because I've always told Gary Leonhardt for all of these years that if it didn't work out for me and Joe Sandy, that he was next on my list. But Susie obviously beat me to that, and for her, I am very happy. It has been my privilege, and Gary Leonhardt has taught me how to look for the best in people, because he always does. And no matter how difficult a situation, he always knows how to handle it, and he always handles it well. And I know that there were many times that people could have called me and complained, and they didn't because of you. I know all the stories we could tell about the night she camped out to catch the people that were doing damage in the parks, and all of the things that we have had the privilege and joy of listening to over these years. I also know that there will not be another one of you, and that we will not ever have someone who has given 48 years, and I do mean given 48 years of your life to us. Someone to come in to begin to try to take over the recreation department and to fill your shoes will be easier because of what you have done and because of the kind of standard that you have set for our community. You are respected across this state and beyond. And most importantly, you are respected and loved in this community, your home, where you have made this your life. And mostly I thank you for just being you, and appreciate the opportunity to work with you, to serve with you, and I wish you well, and I hope that you and Susie have a great time. I told her that she has to take care of you for me, but she has to bring you back to see me. So that's our arrangement, and I really appreciate it, and I love you, Gary.
Sally mentioned 48 years. There's a big difference in a job and a profession. Gary, I think, exemplifies profession. We really want to count the time, department heads are exempt from time, but the job has to get done, whether it's on Sunday afternoon or at midnight or whenever. I think Gary's got in about 62.3 years, actually, so if you want to throw that into your formula, it'll really help your retirement. One quick anecdote. we have a little lunch bunch that goes out. Jesse, Gary Harding, Gary Leonhardt, myself. A number of years ago, before this, club we were involved with did a political stunt day, and Gary's involved with Model Ts and Model As and antique cars, and we brought the cars down, put the buntings on them up on the courthouse square, and let the candidates come down and give their little spiel about why they wanted to lead this community or this state or whatever. After it was over, I asked Gary, I said, can we take your Model T over to my house? I'd like my wife and my son to see it. He said, sure, it runs, we'll take it over there. You and Jesse and I will ride over there. Top was down, beautiful day like today. So we ride over to the house over behind Kirksey Funeral Home. We pull up, and I told Sherry and Will we had a Model T out there, and they went, Okay. I was doing them a favor, but they came out and went and looked and said, oh, it's okay. So we started back into town so Gary could load the car back up on a little trailer, take it back up to his house with Jesse, and we got about to City Muffler, if you know where that is, at the point out on Avery Avenue, and the car died. Just died. Lamar, I wish you could have been here with your camera. Gary and I were pushing. Jesse was driving. And we didn't realize how stupid it looked until a week or two ago, probably. And that's when Jesse learned left and right, actually. Your other left. You know. We got it into town, finally got it right back to the courts of that house, and what would happen, it started right up. I think Butch kind of spoke for the old age, to a certain extent, recreation department, someone who's come on the scene in the past 4 or 5 years, and who worked actually as an intern with the city back about 10 or 12 years ago, is Jennifer Nicholson. She's more than Gary's gal Friday. She is very important to the operations here also. And Jennifer, if wherever you are.
Gary, I'm honored to be able to speak on behalf of all the employees that work with you and for you. One thing I know that we've all learned from you is wisdom within the field of recreation, and I thank you for that. We never thought this day would come. Never. Never thought this day would come. It was a joke in the office that we thought Gary would never retire and we'd have to wheel him out in a wheelchair. And that's only because he loved his job so much. And he dedicated his life to recreation in his community. And with that being said, his official retirement date is April the 1st. Think about that. We all have known you for many, many years, and I can truly say that Susie has made you the happiest I have ever seen you. And I thank you for that, Susie. Gary, you've given your life to the City of Morganton since your teenage years, and it's time for you to give your time to your wife and to yourself. While I was writing things down to say and what to speak about, I just began to boo-hoo like I'm doing now. It's a bit overwhelming because we have so many stories that we can go back to the old ball field at Shuey, Mary Duckworth. Or we can have stories at Catawba Meadows Park, and you become family. But you've always told me that we have our ups and downs. You take the good with the bad. And hopefully the good outweighs the bad time. And all I have to say about the hard times, I wouldn't call them bad, they were hard. We stuck together and we made it work, make each program work, because it sure did make the hard time, or the good times a lot sweeter. It would be interesting to know how many lives you truly touched. That would be an interesting number. There's no doubt in my mind, Gary, that people are going to talk about you. They've already talked about you. Our community's talked about you. But there's one thing that they're always going to say is you gave your whole life to this community and to this recreation. And you gave it all, and there's nobody that's going to replace your shoes. No one. On a joking note, to break the ice, there's a few things, if you've worked with Gary, that he has to have, Susie, on a daily basis, and you're probably figuring this out. He can't go anywhere without these things in this bag. He always has to have these things. And if you know Gary, he has two things in his hands. He has a cell phone, because he's constantly getting phone calls all the time. And he has a Diet Pepsi. Now, he prefers to have Pepsi in a cup with ice, but it's a Diet Pepsi is what he has in his hands. And in the Philippines, they do not have Pepsi products, they have Coke products. So I wanted to make sure that you have your Diet Pepsi. I've known Gary since 2004 is when I did my internship. And Gary has not changed his wardrobe one time. Now, with that being said, I was speaking with Mary the other day.
You mean my style.
Yes, your style. He has changed clothes. But one thing Gary always has to have, and it's very appropriate because it's about the same shirt that I went and picked out at Belk's for him. He has to have a buttoned-up shirt with a collar. It has to be blue and it's checkered. He always has to have that. We all have ways that we deal with stress. Stress is part of work. And one way that Gary deals with stress a crossword puzzle. Him and Jesse every day do the crossword puzzle in the Morganton News Herald. And you probably will not get that in the Philippines, so I wanted to make sure that you had the appropriate puzzle to work on. And if you work with Gary, you know that he always loses his glasses. Now, he does not have prescription glasses. He always has the dollar store glasses. I want to make sure, because when we start getting older, we have to have our glasses, that you have your pair of glasses. And last, his most favorite thing. We always have the most joyful thing in our job, which we really do not enjoy doing, and his is bills. Last minute is bills for him. So I want to make sure that you have a budget sheet that you can take with you, that you can always look at. And when you're having a bad day during your retirement, you can look at it and say, it could be a lot worse. Also, a couple sayings that Gary would remind us in the office is, let's just do it so they can get off my back. And that's so true. And if he didn't have that saying, if he did not say no, our community, this recreation would not be what it is today. And we thank you for that.
Just got two things to say about that.
And that's my last one. And my favorite. Now, when you say it, you have to tilt your head and you have to say, Jennifer, there's two things about that. And he would always give me two things, two reasons. It was never one, it was never four, it was never five. But I have two things for you, Gary. Enjoy your retirement, and you'll be very missed. We hope you and Susie will come and visit often, and we'll always greet you with loving and open arms. And thank you so much for what you brought to this community.
I've never had a place that I could call home. I moved to Morganton, began working here in 2000. Been here 16 years. I'm an Air Force brat, born at Clark Air Base in the Philippines. But all the Tagalog I learned between ages birth to 3, I've forgotten, Susie, so I apologize. And I envy Gary. I told him the other day. I envy him the ability to have one place that he can call home. Many of you have that same privilege. For good or ill, this is your home, your hometown. Now, I couldn't think of anything that would be better for a man who's been able to live and work than to be in his hometown the entire time and to make the impact that Gary has. I met Gary in 2000. Talk about last-minute-itis. Anything that the Rec Foundation was doing that they needed a check from their account at Morganton Federal, now Morganton Savings Bank, to do, Gary showed up about 5 minutes before he had to have it. Sometimes those checks were hundreds of thousands of dollars. He'd say, Mike, I need this check. Gary, give me a little notice, would you? So he started doing it the morning of if he needed that afternoon. That's the best I've ever got. The Morganton Recreation Foundation was founded back in the 1950s. Well, 1948, not 58, 48. And it was a private foundation established to promote and provide for recreation in the city of Morganton. And through the donation of land and private monies, the city of Morganton has never had, or has infrequently had, to reach out and pay to acquire and improve the recreation, the unmatched, quite frankly, recreation facilities that all of you have enjoyed over the years. The Recreation Foundation, as Gary went through a recitation at our meeting last Wednesday, the Recreation Foundation built this rec center, which we renamed for Clinton Faust a few years ago. We built the outdoor pool, we built the indoor pool, and when Mr. Shuey died, he left us Shuey Field to the foundation, and of course we made sure that all of the things, the land and facilities that the Recreation Foundation owns are for the use of the city. It's administered by the City Recreation Department, and the way that we fund that is through a loan from my institution. We've always borrowed money from us. We're the last of the hometown banks. Hopefully we can last a few more years longer. We're dropping like flies. And the city leases those facilities from us. So you can, this isn't a city-owned building, it's the foundation's building. When you go out, take your kids out to play at the top Little League field, that belongs to the foundation. We don't own Catawba Meadows, but we paid for the brand new playground facility out there for the handicapped kids and others. That's the mission of the foundation, and we couldn't have performed our mission anywhere near as well as we have, and I think we've done right well without Gary's help. Gary is an integral part of every meeting that we have and every effort that we pursue. And without him, we would not have done some of the things that we've done. And I believe everything the foundation has undertaken has been a success, and it's certainly inured to the benefit of every citizen and visitor to Burke County and Morganton, North Carolina. On behalf of the foundation, we had this plaque made. So Jack Hyatt over at Carolina Ribbons, the other side of Glen Alpine, he was supposed to have this for us last week. He said, Mike, I'm not going to have it ready. I said, why? He said, well, my machine keeps screwing up. And I said, what do you mean your machine keeps screwing up? He said, we got a machine that does all this inscribing on the plaque. And I said, really? What's the problem? He said, well, it keeps wanting to go off to the left when it gets about half the way down. I said, what are we going to do? He says, I don't know. This is more damn words I've ever put on a plaque in 25 years. And I said, well, after 48 years of service, the man deserves all the words necessary for us to express our gratitude. So, the Morganton Parks and Recreation Foundation hereby acknowledges and honors Gary Leonhardt for 48 years of selfless, tireless, honest, and unwavering service and devotion to the city of Morganton, North Carolina. Due to your unique and visionary leadership, the citizens of this great town enjoy an unparalleled variety and quality of recreational facilities and activities that enhance the quality of life for all. This foundation hereby extends its deepest gratitude to you, and we aver and hold that our mission would not have been successfully fulfilled without you. We thank you for your friendship and devoutly wish you every success and happiness and a long and healthy retirement, given this 10th day of March, 2016. Thank you.
Sally made mention of Gary and his whole department, and frankly, I think it speaks well of the city too, of the can-do attitude that is personified in each and every person that works for the city and goes throughout each department and each division. One thing that I have learned, not only working for the city, for Mel, and for Gary, and working with Gary and others, is that especially when you call Gary, so Gary, I need such and such. There's none of this, oh, well, we're kind of busy right now. I got 2 guys out. I don't know. Let me check with stuff. I'll get back to you tomorrow. When do you need it? And it's there before you know it. Great way to run a business, and it really works. Before we get to our last speaker, just, I guess, a piece of privilege. I hope I'm okay with this. I do want to tell you that on the outside of this building, Gary, there are many men, and Clint and others can attest to this, that when the Rotary Club had a new president coming in, nobody really wanted to be president, but you sort of got to that point. And they said, well, the only way I'll be president of this club is if Gary Leonhardt is secretary treasurer, because I know he'll run it and won't let me look bad and make things happen. The Man of the Year banquet will come off, the pancake breakfast will come off, everything will be right. And that worked. Gary was a founding director of the Men's Club of Morganton. The stump day that happened, the programs at Christmas for young people, the bicycle program that goes on today through the Men's Club is all a part of his vision from years ago. The Red, White, and Bluegrass Festival, what a great thing. Sports Hall of Fame, we have a few members of that here today who drove a long way to be here to celebrate this. What you didn't know, on a few occasions around somewhere between the 1st and 10th of Christmas, 1st and 10th of December going into Christmas, Gary and a few of us would head, Gary initially, and then he roped us into it too, would go out to the youthful offender prison, and it wasn't a Christmas party, but he would get together pizzas and candy bars and Pepsis and Cokes, and we'd go out there and have a little sports trivia thing, and that was all the December birthdays. We did that up until a few years ago when they wouldn't let us in. Again, bringing it back to Jesse, they would only let Jesse in, but he had to have a driver's license. It was really bad, and then to compound things, many of you have heard this, I took Jesse home and we put the pizzas in the freezer. I think Jesse took one and I took one, and I dropped Jesse off at his house. It was cold, it was snowing, it was nasty. They would not let us in the prison. And I noticed Jesse was having a little trouble with his stick, banging around the side of the house. And so the lights were on the car, and I got out. I said, Jesse, what's wrong? He said, Wilson, I'm turned around. Help me. I need to get in my house. So I got him around to the front. I said, Jesse, okay, you're good now. You're on your sidewalk. He said, Wilson, I ain't got a damn sidewalk. Folks, I do this all the time. This is my life. This is how things go. With recent events here, I do want to declare Gary Leonhardt guilty. He is guilty of being a good employee, a great employer. He is guilty of being a great ambassador for the city and a good friend. Please welcome now another good friend who's more than guilty of everything, Mel Collett.
Thank you for getting to me tonight. You know, I'm used to doing certain things for so many years, and I think it would be appropriate to say there are two city councilmen here this evening, and John Cantrell and Forrest Fleming. Also, one of our notables and people that are known all over the country, who is Sportsman of the Year award, Oval James is with us today, and it's good to see Oval here. It's always good to be here. Gary, I knew yesterday was your birthday, but I want to wish you a day late happy birthday. And Susie, you're a strong lady. Thank you. Man of the hour, Gary Leonhardt, and I promise not to cry. Jennifer did and Sally did, and I always follow Sally. She won't let me go before her, of course. But man of the hour, Gary Leonhardt, members of Gary's family, Gary's co-workers, friends and guests, and so many wonderful city employees. It's been so long since I've seen some of you. I'm Mel Cohen, and for those who don't know me or remember me, it was my honor to serve your mayorship for 30 years in this town. In fact, Gary's time at Recreation is just about the only current city tenure longer than mine. I'm honored that Gary asked me to be here today to say a few words and prepare him for his retirement. And Gary, it's not what it's made up to be, retirement. I told you that a long time ago. When you think of it, there may not be one single other person in Morganton whose work has touched more lives than Gary Leonhardt. No teacher, no doctor, no minister, or even parent has had as much impact on so many of the young people in this great community of Morganton. Almost 3 generations have enjoyed the benefits of the hard work Gary has done for our city and the Parks and Recreation Department. During his time as head of the Parks and Recreation, he has been the driving force for many, many projects that his department has undertaken. Every time a Morganton kid kicks a ball or picks up a bat and glove, that young person owes a debt of gratitude to Gary Leonhardt. The Recreation Department today is running programs and maintaining facilities that haven't been even dreamed of when Gary started in the Recreation Department 48 years ago. Gary, back in those early days, did you know what a zip line was? Or had you ever heard of Frisbee golf? Probably not. And there's probably no way to know the extent of the impact of those innovations that have had on the lives of Morganton's young people. And while none of us, even Gary, know what the next innovations may be, it's pretty safe to bet that to say a kid on the baseball diamond or a basketball court like those upstairs are much less likely to get into trouble than a kid walking the streets. Gary is responsible for a world-class recreational facility and opportunities that all Morganton citizens regularly enjoy, and many, many Burke County citizens that don't pay taxes in Morganton. All the department's buildings, the fields, the greenway, the soccer complex, Catawba Meadows, the list goes on and on. I expect Gary would say that the credit should be shared with the other members of the Recreation Department, the Recreation Foundation, and the citizens, because that's the kind of person Gary is. But the truth is, more times than not, when some event was going on at the Collett Street Rec or the Mountain View Rec or the soccer complex or one of the pools, Gary was the first one to arrive and the last one to leave. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention all the efforts that Gary has put forward to make Morganton's annual Red, White, and Bluegrass Festival a truly world-class event. Red, White, and Bluegrass has been recognized time and time again as one of the best events of its type in our country, not in just North Carolina, in America. And all this in little old Morganton. And that event was Gary's idea from the start. Gary, as a citizen of Morganton, I'm sad to see you step away from the department that you have molded and shaped into one of the crown jewels of this city. Everyone in this community, and in truth, a whole lot of people from outside of this city, owe you their heartfelt thanks for all that you have done for Morganton and its citizens, young and old alike. And many AARP members are here today to honor you. That is why Sally and I watched as you received the highest state award in recreation in Raleigh, the Lifetime Achievement Award. Gary, from this point on, I only want to dwell on the positive aspect of your career as a public servant, and you are the optimum of public servants. Your record of service to this community is one that will, I believe, stand the test of time. I'm so proud to have known you, to have served with you. Bill, you caused it. And to have worked side by side with you. And I wish you and Susie all the very, very best as you begin this so-called retirement, and it's not a sport, okay? God bless you. Good luck to both of you and Susie, your son.
Now, I've got everything I was going to say. Maybe I said enough. Gary has a bright future ahead. He's, of course, visited with Susie in the Philippines. SJ, just met you. Good to see you. And he's, I think, has a job over there. There's a sports complex there that is pretty exciting. And when he went to investigate it, it's not like ours. So he's going to have to do a little extra training. It's cockfighting. So maybe if it goes well over there, we can bring it back here. Although I think it probably is. I think the last word, Gary's going to reintroduce the band in a minute, but the last word will come from him. A little upset with Gary. I thought I was his best friend. I'm not. Each one of you are. Gary Leonhardt.
Appreciate so much all the kind words that were said. And Bill is right. I know when I went over to the Philippines and we were riding and I saw the Dumaguete Sports Complex. I thought, man, you know, I'm retired, going over there, it's going to be great. And I asked Susan, I said, the Dumaguete Sports Complex, that's great. She said, you don't know anything about chickens. And I didn't realize that was the major sport over there, and it's run by the government, so maybe I get a chance to do that anyway. One of the things that we have done recently that's been really close to my heart is the bluegrass, of course, because of the festival and because I love working with kids. And I think we've done so much with it. It's been great. And I would like to get the jam instructors, the group, to come out and at least do one more song. Are they here now to do that?
If we can find them.
Okay. Or you want me to go ahead and finish and let them come at the end? That'd be okay?
Well, you're there.
Okay.
This is
I'm
your
here
last
now.
chance, Gary.
Okay, all right. I'll go ahead and speak now. But thanks everyone for being here, taking the time out of your day to be here and honor me, and I appreciate that so much. I'd really like to thank for Sally and Jennifer and Butch and Mel and those that came up and said the kind words that they said. I so much appreciate that. People I've worked with and had the privilege to work with for my time. You know, at 48 years, it's hard to believe. I knew this day would come, and as Jennifer said, I think I've threatened for the last 5 years I would say something, I'm getting ready to retire, but no, it got where nobody ever believed me. Jennifer wouldn't believe me. But, you know, again, it finally has come. I would like to, if I could, introduce my family that's here and it's taking the time to come. And I want you to stand up, but I want to see, my brother David. David, if you'd stand up. And I think most of you know David. My sister Beverly, would you stand up please, and her husband Ward. They've come all the way from Jasper, Georgia to be here. And of course my aunt and uncle got Rex Carpenter, Nina Carpenter. Would you stand up please? I appreciate you being here and being part of this. You know, as being recreation director for the city, I think there's kind of 3 rules that I've tried to live by as I've worked. And I want to kind of go over those very quickly. And I think the biggest one for me has been to build relationships. I really feel like that's one of the things that I did the best job at, because it was so important in my job as recreation director. And that was to build relationships and work with organizations to promote recreation throughout the city. Our city has so many events throughout the year, and that's what makes Morganton special. That's, as I've talked with Sally we have before, that's what makes Morganton what it is today. And I've been proud to be a part of that. And if the recreation department was the only group that provided recreation activities and programs, facilities, there wouldn't be enough to go around. It just wouldn't work. So we have to work with people that do other programs that we can help with either resources or personnel, facilities, whatever it takes to make these great things happen. So that's why we have so many things happening every week here in Morganton, because we work together. We don't run them all, they don't run them all, but we work together to make some great things happen. And I'm glad I could be a part of that. It's been wonderful for me. The second one is I've never, as recreation director, tried to point the way to where recreation programs should happen or what you should do. That's really not my job. I always thought my job is finding out what people like to do in recreation and help them find a better way to do it, a safe way to do it, a facility to do it. That was the important thing for me. I could point all kinds of different ways and they would never go. I've watched Lee Anderson point several ways and nobody went there, did they, Lee? We work together, it doesn't work that way. We just got to find out what people want to do and help them. And the third thing I think, and I know some of the speakers touched on it, is I believe in saying yes. If it makes sense, I'm going to say yes. If it doesn't make sense, I want to see if I can help them change it or tweak it a little bit, that it makes sense, so I can say yes. And when people ask me to do something, I usually say, yes, we can do it, and we can do it today. And I wanted to do that with our department. We try to do it all the time. And I always hoped the people that I worked with would remember that. And when it came time for us to ask a question or ask for some help, that they would say yes, and we can do it today also. And it's paid off for me in a lot of ways. We wouldn't have what we have today without it. So I really appreciate that. I've had great employees. And I can't name them all. I'm not going to try to do that. I think I would mess up. But I do want to say about 2 people that have been very special to me throughout the year. Without them, I don't know what I'd do. and that's Mary and Bill Duckworth. Mary and Bill have been with me since I started in recreation. They've been here just as long as I have, and I could count on them anytime I needed anything for anything, and I don't know what I'd do without them. The people like Jennifer and of course Butch that was up here, and Robert, Tim, Jason Oliver, all the different people here, David Whitesides, I'm not going to name all of them, but people that have stood by me and worked with me and made some great things happen in the city. Thank you for that. I do appreciate that. Special friends that are here, Bill. I haven't seen Bill cry before. I thought that was new, and I'm not going to cry. I'm going to keep from doing it. Bill, they did enough. Bill is one of my best friends. We have so much fun together. The guy's unbelievable. I mean, it's fun to be with him every day to see what he's going to do next. It's just unbelievable. Gary Harding's here. Where's Gary at? Gary, good friend. We grew up together and appreciate his friendship. A special thanks to somebody who's blind, doesn't see, but he sees more than anybody in this room, I guarantee you. Jesse Williams. He's one of the smartest people I've ever been around. When Jesse came, I had a Rolodex at my desk with phone numbers in it. When he came, I threw that thing away because all I got to do is say somebody's name or something. Jesse knows the number. I never look at the phone book anymore. If he doesn't know it, he can get it for you quickly. I appreciate that. Forrest Fleming, John Cantrell that's here today, two city council people I've worked with that have not only been city council members and friends, but friends in other ways. So appreciate you. I really do. Where am I going from here? Susie, would you come up, please? I'm not going to let Susie speak, I'm afraid. I'm not going to but, you know, I've been a lucky man in a lot of ways, and I certainly have been a lucky man to meet this lady. I know when the first time I met her, and we got to know each other, and then when I saw how she was around people, how she treated people. One of the first things I saw from her was that she was telling me that she liked to do one good deed every day for somebody, and I watched her, and she does that. She did that. She was, one of the first days she took me down to the bottom of Zamboanga to go see some young kids who had never tasted chocolate before. And so we got a chance to go down there, and those kids lined up. We started giving out chocolate. Next thing I know, I mean, instead of 10 or 15 kids, there was 30 or 40 kids, and she was trying to break that chocolate into to make sure everybody got a little bit. But we just did so many things. I saw her heart, and so I knew that she was the person for me. She has made my life a lot better, a lot more fun. Retirement would be a lot harder if I didn't have this to go to, but I do appreciate her and SJ, her son, is a wonderful person, and I'm looking forward to that. I will miss the people. I will miss the opportunity. The thing about recreation is to be able to think today about what may be happening 2 years from now. That was what was important in recreation. Now for the last year or so since I was retiring, it was hard. You couldn't do that. So it made my job a little different and things a little tougher. And you just went day by day with what programs you had, what activities you had. So I miss that, knowing that I was involved in something today that may pay off 2 or 3 years later. So I just hope the next person comes in, and I know they'll be a good one, because Sally, she's a good one. They'll come in and keep the wonderful things we got in recreation going. The last thing I want to say is that it was a difficult time the last month and a half with the allegations that were made. It's tough when those things are made and you don't have an opportunity to ever speak to them. I never got a chance to face the accusers and answer the questions to them. I only got a chance to talk to the SBI, who very quickly saw that all the allegations were false. They were made up by someone, and it just got carried on. But what do you do? I just wanted to be strong through it, and I can be. I'm okay. I feel good about myself. I know myself. I've never taken anything from the city, except for the paycheck I earn every 2 weeks. That was what the city needed to give me, and very kindly gave me every 2 weeks, provided me a place to work that I love to work. I wish I could start tomorrow and do 48 more years, but I can't. But again, thank you for being here, and thank you for being my friend, and thank you for supporting me and recreation. Thank you.